Hello, everybody, and welcome. Ugh, didn't close my wall. Hi. Good morning, and welcome to another Adventures in Truth livecast. Welcome to the show. Glad you're here. Going to be a very powerful topic today. Going to be a deep dive. So I hope you can dive along with me today. This is a culmination of weeks of kind of contemplation and meditation and observing what we're experiencing, observing what's happening out there in the world. So today's show is all about the collision of our inner world and our outer world. And joining us today, at some point, I think Moshe will be joining on. This was not originally a conversation with Moshe's show, but given the new year, I don't know how to count. So dates got screwy. Anyway, Moshe should be joining us to help with this conversation because I could use the parlay, as it were, to oh, what a horrible choice. I can use the conversation, as it were, to continue to stimulate this whole process. So we're going to dive in real deep here in just a second, but I'm going to go on the other side of the break, and when I come back, we'll be talking about the movement. So bear with me. Dun, dun. All right, the movement. My world is good. Guys, this is such an amazing thing to me. This is the year of conscious creation from my perspective. So what this is all about, the movement, my world is good, is about that idea of conscious creation, starting at a place where we can all engage at the same place. Because my world is good has nothing to do with your politics, has nothing to do with your religion, has nothing to do with your sex, has nothing to do with your belief systems. It has everything to do with unifying our energies. I believe, and it is my experience, that while there are 7.5 billion beings on the planet, there are really 7.5 billion unique worlds inhabiting one planet. And I say that because it's pretty straightforward. Nobody can live your life for you. No one can create your life for you. No one can change your life for you without permission, as it were. Whether it's permission consciously or unconsciously. So in the end, our world is our creation, is our responsibility, is our focus. So part of what we're going to be dealing with today is looking at how that focus, how that particular perspective is unique and important, and why and how it's affecting us now. But back to the movement. My world is good. This is simple. It's simple, simple, simple. All it requires is your energy, your focus, and your intention. And it takes like next to no time, because you can fill it in anywhere and everywhere throughout the day, because you don't have to carve out a chunk of time. So what's my mission here? Well, the mission of the movement is simple. 7.5 billion unique sparks, all focused into their worlds. I'm creating a universal energy. I want a universal energy. My world is good. A universal intention. My world is good. A universal intention within all of these individual worlds, which come together to create this unified energy. That unified energy then has the power to change the mass consciousness, to change the consciousness. That mass consciousness is that field of repetitive belief, right? We've spent many years, specifically, and more specifically recent years, watching a very limited group of people change the complexion of how we think, how we feel, what we believe. I want to counter that, not as a resistance process, but as a process of conscious creation. We allowed all that to happen because we chose to be unconscious about it. We chose not to engage it and change it. We felt like we couldn't. And that was really the next step of what motivated this, is the feeling of people feeling powerless, the feeling of people feeling like they couldn't do anything about the situation because it's happening over there and it's those people, and all of the deflective kind of put it out over there stuff. And I realized, wait a second, we're missing a whole component here. If they created, I can create. So why not focus a creation that brings us all together in a world that is filled with goodness instead of filled with negative energy? I'm not saying negative doesn't exist. That's not the point. The point is creating a momentum shift. The is to create this flow of energy amongst us all that's the same. So it doesn't matter what the perspective is in your individual world, the energy of my world is good is the same. And we share that energy together, and we create a new momentum, and we add that to the mass consciousness and begin to tilt the scales to the other direction so that we are focused in the goodness. For me, honestly, as I've been doing this since the first of the year, I truly believe and have seen, not only in my personal life, the way things are flowing, but the things that I'm beginning to see. And that's the whole point. Once you do this over time, even days, it's not like months and weeks, you'll start to see more goodness in your world. You'll start to see more positive things unfolding in your space. So it doesn't take much time. I encourage you to do it when you first come back in your body in the morning, because there you are as receptive as you could possibly be. So focusing into that, my world is good, and just feel it, and feel it. Every time you say it, feel it, see it, feel it, see it. My world is good. 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 And you can do that all day long. If you find yourself running into a negative experience, stop and just focus in my world is good. Call on the goodness so that you can consciously create something different. Thank you for participating in it. Thank you for being a part of it. I'm excited for it. The energy keeps building, and it's because of you guys that are helping to create this powerful momentum. So we're going to be right back. It looks like Moshe is hanging in the wings. Going to be good to see him in just a second here. And so when we come back, we'll say hi. Okay. Thanks, guys. Be right back. I'm going to assume he's ready, but I don't know that he's ready. Are you ready to be ready there, my friend?
I am ready because my world is good.
My world is good. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, and I forgot to do all my button pushing and all that good stuff, but that's okay. I get so carried away sometimes. Hi, good to see you.
Too.
You don't know that I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do this. I want to take just a moment with everybody because my friend Moshe his fur baby is having struggles, and I would love us to focus some of our love, this group, on Zoe. I know Zoe. I've hung out with Zoe, and she's an amazing creature. And I would love to just take a second just to open your heart to Zoe and send lots of love and healing and beautiful energy, and surround Zoe with all kinds of good stuff, and surround Moshe too. So Dad and Pup can be in peace with this whole process. So
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you guys for doing that. My heart just went woof. So happy for that. So Moshe, I was telling them before the break, I don't know if you heard me, but this was not intended to be a conversation with Moshe. Jim doesn't know how to count. And so as we were looking at the schedule, I made some assumptions and our schedules got wonky. But it was interesting when I was building the show, Moshe, I thought to myself, I should probably do show notes, because when I do my own show, I don't do show notes because I'm doing the show. That's usually when I have a guest, I do show notes because I just build the show for me. And I thought to myself, last night as I'm doing it, I thought I should create show notes for the show today. And I thought, well, why would I do that? I don't usually. So I didn't. And not, I don't know, half an hour later, you texted and said, come on. So even when you don't pay attention, you still get the prompts. Even when you're not, really feeling it, you're still going to hear the voice. So anyway, all right. Create a quick diversion. Now let's come back to this topic, which I think I'm trying to avoid because it's big, guys. It's I'm going to take you to a place that I don't know you're going to be very comfortable with. And I'm okay with that, I think. But I found it so compelling and so profound that I haven't been able to not be in the process of it. So that's my commitment to Adventures in Truth is it is about what's happening in our energies, in our world. How can we deal with and participate in what's happening and transform it? So as you know, many of you who are participating, this is, or who have been a part of this, the movement, as it were, the My World is Good, was the genesis of what I described a few minutes ago. But the next stage of that genesis, so here I am feeling all these feelings and feeling this sense of powerlessness and disconnected and what's up with that, and then realizing, wait a second, it's all about energy. We create the field, so why are we not doing something different instead of being at the effect? So that's what started the movement, this neutral, positive, forward-moving statement. So as I'm observing all that's been going on, I suddenly came into the realization that, holy crap, what we are looking at least us, and I'm sure it doesn't matter where you are in the world, but particularly for us in this country, in this situation, 7.5 billion, well, maybe not here, 300 million individual souls, individual perspectives focused on events that are occurring all around us. I am proposing that what you are witnessing is the reflection of your inner world right now. What you observe is the reflection of your inner world right now. It is reflecting to you the divide that exists in your consciousness that is part of every human's experience. It is not necessarily an adopted bad thing, meaning you didn't consciously decide to be divided. And there's some that may have, but in my understanding of this, the initial divide that we experience is something that's part of the evolution of the human experience. It's that we came into this world fully embracing all of who we are. And over the course of our human indoctrination, we became divided between who we truly are and who we're told or who we're molded into being. That is a divide. So what happens is we are now in the process of my divide is activating your divide, is activating your divide, is activating. So we're talking to each other from our divides, not from our wholeness. So everything we're seeing is a reflection of that divide, depending on your perspective. And we're going to go into a lot more detail about that. Moshe, I know you're kind of getting broadsided with this because you only learned about it last night. Do you want to throw something in before we go to break and do a little meditation?
No,
just say hi.
No, I'll come in after we have a chance to get centered.
Okay. So we are there's my intro for this. I hope that it intrigues you to follow along this trail that we're about to go on, this adventure. And I keep trying to see my banners without my glasses, and it's really not very successful. All right, so we're going to take a moment to focus. And Moshe, I'll bring you back in just a sec. So guys, this is the time for I like to do the intro ahead of time, kind of get you know where we're going, and then take a moment to bring us all into the same energy field, just to kind of align us so that we are focusing in the adventure, at least as much as we can, the same direction, because where we all come together in similar energy, that energy can expand and grow and become clearer because we are contributing our energies to it. So I believe that foundation of all consciousness has got to be a place of quiet. It's got to be a place of knowing self. And that's what this show is going to be about, is understanding self, understanding the inner and the outer world and how powerfully they are reflecting to us. So just take a moment right now and get settled into where you are, whether you're sitting or standing or laying down, obviously, and let yourself relax into it, taking deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth, just letting that breath settle you into where you are comfortably. And let your eyes drop. You don't have to be intense about it. Just let them close. If you're driving, obviously don't let your eyes close. And just let that breath fill you. Let that breath release you. And now become aware of your field. Become aware of the energy that is all around you. And from the internal experience, just become aware of how your energy feels and begin to notice things that are taking your attention, things that are occupying parts of your energy. It doesn't have to be anything significant. Part of your energy is being observed, is being focused into my voice. Part of your energy may be hearing a dog or a door or an air conditioner or a car. And then it grows from there, because when we tend to not attend to things, our habit is to hold them in our energy. And so if you look around in your field, you'll begin to find these clumps of energy. And if you attend to them, you'll find out what they're attending to. If you direct your focus on them, you can actually kind of breathe into them and let yourself see what those things are. I don't want you to attend to them right now. Just be aware of them. And now I want you to take a deep breath again, in through the nose and out through the mouth. And I want you to focus your attention into your heart, into the center of your heart. And I want you to command your energy, all of this stuff that's out here, I want you to command it into that space. Pull your energy inside your body. I want you to have the experience of the inside of you. So pull all of that energy into your heart and just feel that warmth. Feel the power of that just resting in your heart. Feel all of that energy. And now let yourself go into that internal space and let that consciousness move around the inside of your body. Feel it as it moves around in your head. You can roll your head around as you let it move around your brain and seeing behind your eyes and your sinuses. And just let that consciousness flow through your body, all through your body, your arms and your legs and your torso. But make sure you're experiencing all of it. The bones, the muscles, the tendons, the ligaments, the blood vessels, the tissue, all of it. Just experience your inner being, your inner physical being. And if you notice as you're exploring, there's some discomfort, put just a little bit of energy there and breathe into that spot. And just let the breath expand that area and begin to open it up and begin to release whatever that energy is. You don't even necessarily have to know what it is. We have a habit of just sticking stuff in our field, depending on how we're feeling and depending on the situation. So it isn't always necessary to know. It is necessary to get it out, to shift it if it's time for it to go. Let it be. Clear your space, as it were. And so now that we've done that, I want you to bring all that awareness back into the heart space. We're going to focus intently now into the breath. The breath is the foundation of the human experience. It is chi, it's prana, it's life force. So every breath we take revitalizes this physical vessel. So when we consciously manage breath, we are consciously choosing to engage that life force energy and to manage it and use it and co-create with it, which we do always anyway. But this is the year of conscious creation. We want to be conscious of that experience because it's profound and magical and incredibly satisfying. So we're going to breathe into a count of 4. We're going to fill completely. We're going to rest at the top in that fullness. And then we're going to release from the mouth. We're going to blow it out to a count of 6, because I want you to purge the deepest parts of your lungs, get all of that old stale energy and air out so that you make room for all kinds of new vital energy. And then at the bottom, you're going to rest in the emptiness. You're going to rest in the void, because that's just as important as resting in fullness. So let's begin as we focus. Bring again all focus and awareness into the heart space. As you inhale, taking in through the nose, 2, 3, 4, and we're full and we're holding. And now we're releasing from the mouth, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, as we rest in the emptiness, relaxing. As you engage the lungs, inhaling, 2, 3, filling completely and holding that breath, resting, relaxing the shoulders and the neck, and then purging from the mouth, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, as we rest into the void, rest into the empty. And then engaging and inhaling, 2, 3, 4, full, 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 and relaxed. And then we release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, completely surrendering to the emptiness, to the void. And continue that momentum now. Continue that breath on your own for just a few minutes. As you fill that air, feel it filling you 360 degrees. Let your chest open as completely as it can as you absorb all of this amazing energy and air. And as you get to the top, you're completely relaxed. You're completely into the fullness and enjoying and in reverie of this full experience as you surrender it and release it. Because all life is about change. So if we can enjoy and embrace the fullness and then surrender it as we come to the emptiness, and then we engage the emptiness, ready as a vessel to receive the next thing, the next energy, the next feeling, the next vibration as you inhale and then carry that forward. Powerful experience in energy. Let that energy continue to move through you as you take in these words. Our movement. My world is good. Feel that resonate through you as you breathe. My world is good. Feel that vibration expanding your energy. My world is good. Feel the energy lifting. My world is good. Feel that spin as the energy picks up momentum. My world is good. My world is good. My world is good. My world is good. Feel that incredible power lifting your energy. And stay in that lifted space as you consciously now allow your field and your energy to come back out into the world. Don't push, don't shove, just let it move. You've created momentum. That love in your field, that goodness is expanding your field. It is enhancing. It's like a big glitter ball. So everything you touch gets a little bit of that goodness, gets a little bit of that love. And bringing yourself back present into this moment as Moshe and I get ready to dive in some more into this amazing topic. Come on back and join us.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Here we go. Another way to start the day. All right. So, I think I laid a compelling story at the front of the show. What do you think?
Yes. To me, the question becomes right now, how do we make sure we are coming from our whole selves, not our divided selves, and help people listening and viewing receive this with their whole selves?
Yes. And that, I think, is what I was experiencing. What I said earlier is, just kind of walk with me here. It's going to be an intense process because we didn't get here by accident. We didn't get to this place by a freak accident. We got here because of how we think and how we feel and how we've projected those thoughts and feelings out into the world. How we have consciously or unconsciously not chosen to engage our energy because it's them, because it's the government, because it's the president, because it's the MAGA people, because it's the leftists, because it's the anarchists, because it's the. This is the because it's the right here, right now. And you kind of say to me, oh my God, we're not, now we're the bad people. No, that's not my point. And that's really where this can derail and what I really want to stop immediately in the conversation. This is about empowerment. This is about change. This is about conscious creation. In the spiritual community, there's all this talk of what are they calling it? I can't remember the word. This big change. This transformation that's occurring, and all of these people who don't get it and who don't understand, and it has nothing to me. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with let's get conscious. We have the opportunity right here, right now, to step into a level of consciousness that we have never experienced on this planet. And part of that, to me, is the recognition of the energies that we are bringing to the table, because we create our reality. So I had to really sit with this for a while, because I know the whole victim consciousness thing and blame game and all that, which this is not about at all. This is about recognizing that your individual world comes from your perspective. Your perspective is built in the context of your world, which is a limited vision of the world. All of us have it. It's not you, me, or anybody. Everybody has their own perspectives, because you're the only one who can live your life. So as you view your world through your perspective, the things that are reflected back to you are showing you the state of your internal process. You may not be conscious necessarily of feeling that divide or that conflict. But what I can tell you is if you sit with it, if you have any feeling about this situation that you're observing one way or another, it's because it's happening in you at some level. So what do you think of that so far? I'm going to go into some details here too. So I want to, because I have some ideas about, so I was thinking in terms of, so if you are mired in conspiracy theory, if that is your focus, that all of this is because of some great conspiracies that are going on, and bear in mind, remember that conspiracy theories happen because they carry a grain of truth, right? They start with some grain that's real, and then they build a story around it. A story gets built to create some other outcome, or an outcome that we're hoping for, or some change that we think is, or whatever it is. But from my perspective, the idea of that we would have to resort to conspiracy theory is, to me, a reflection of how much you don't trust your own inner experience. That is a direct reflection of the inability in the moment to trust your own inner guidance and to have a relationship with that guidance so that you can determine what feels real, what feels, not even feels, but resonates as truth, because truth resonates very differently than everything else. When you are standing in clarity, it doesn't mean that there isn't kind of like, holy crap, what's going on? But there is a sense of steadfastness in truth that I think is important to understand, because you regardless of all of this, the truth holds you and anchors you into a steadfast place, meaning a place, a foundational place that you can observe all of that's going on, notice the feelings that may show up, and look to yourself to change the trajectory of your energy and what you're contributing to what you are perceiving. So that's just one example. I mean, there's the violence examples there. You can extrapolate it from every different perspective. If you're blaming one side or the other, then there is that is the division. You are looking at your division, because neither person on either side of the experience really wants anything different. Anything. I mean, so far I haven't seen it. It's word salad. It's one side saying, no, you're a liar. The other side saying, no, you're a liar. Well, what are you saying? I'm saying this. No, you're not saying that. I just said it, but that's not what you're saying. But it is what I just said, but it's not what you mean. What do you mean it's not what I mean? It's not what you mean because this is happening and I just made this up so that I could feel better. And you're like, what are you talking about? This is not. So you understand that's all internal dialogue, guys. That's all internal. That is the level of confusion that we all carry right now, because we have to stop and see the inside reflecting the outside. Where's the love? Where are you? Where is the love? Where are you in that construct? If you can sit in the divide and understand your divide, that's where it changes. Because you recognize, when I recognized where mine was, I was like, what? I did a whole show on it 2 weeks ago on the divisiveness, because I was so blown away that I discovered my divide. And then I realized, oh my gosh, we all have to have this, because I had no idea. It came completely out of the blue for me, because I would never have thought myself a divided person in any way, shape, or form in that fashion. Was I wrong? And thankfully so, because it's giving me a brand new perspective to walk this in a way that keeps me in balance, but keeps me focused in goodness. And I'm not talking about, burying your head in the sand and pretending nothing exists. And that may be valuable, because again, remember, everything that's occurring is occurring outside of self in that sense. So maybe burying your head in the sand isn't such a bad idea for a minute or two, if it disconnects you from the energy that activates your divide. Okay. So, like I said, Moshe, before we got here, I really was. I've been waiting to have this conversation for a couple weeks, because I didn't want to come at it not feeling really clear about what I wanted to say. as far as understanding at least what I'm seeing. Again, y'all may think I'm crazy, and that's okay. I, my God, I believe my role in these adventures is to present this stuff and say, hey, pay attention to this because I think it's important, and let's see what happens. And I'm talking a lot, so it's your turn. If you don't mind.
I'm listening. As I'm taking it in, I'm finding I really have to concentrate because it's easy for me to go unconscious. And
yes.
That might be just what's going on in my life, or it might be this divide inside me, or it might be the intensity of this topic.
I will tell you, Moshe, when it hit me, I was on a thought storm, and I was feeling exactly like you were feeling. I'm like, I even said in the group, I'm having a really hard time focusing. I don't feel like we're getting anywhere with this conversation, but I was getting more upset as the time went on, and it was in that I realized, oh my God, I'm the divide here. I'm the one that's in division. It has nothing to do with this conversation because somebody in the conversation was offering an alternative perspective that I interpreted. Her words were what her words were, but what I interpreted was one more person who wants to change the definition of what we already understand. One more person who wants to create a different reality than the reality. We were doing an actual definition. Like, here's a word, and I want to define this word. I think it may have been divisiveness. And she wanted to spiritualize it, but all of those responses were on me because it was nothing about what she was doing. It was all about all this craziness that was going on inside of me about what she was doing. Because we're all in that space together to find these concepts, to reach this place of unification. So for me to be feeling so like divided about it was extraordinary. But anyway, that was a long version of that's how it began when I reached it.
Right. So how can we parse this so it's easier for people to bring what you said at the outset about my world is good, about bring their energy, focus, and intention to this?
So
which
part
is
of the challenge.
It's ironic because I'm talking about dividing up the whole.
And what's interesting is I might have said this in a video a couple of days ago, but this is not easy. It can be flow, and it should be flow if you're being conscious of the process. But I have to be honest that it's not easy. And if you haven't been paying attention to what's happening inside, it's not going to be easier. At the same time, it's not hard because it's simply being in awareness. The not easy part is because you have to be with some uncomfortableness. The not easy part is because you have to be willing to tell yourself the truth. You have to be willing to be honest with yourself about what you're experiencing. When I use language that says they and them as a way of distancing it from me, I'm now no longer in an open space of receptivity to what's happening because I'm trying to deflect it out. So what do we do in the discovery process? Well, the first is not judge. The first is be with who you are. Who you are is not a bad thing. And even the divide is not because you're a bad person. It is the natural result of our human evolutionary experience. It is the result of being human and spirit at the same time. The ego is responsive to all things physical. The soul is not. So the ego is constantly responding to all the stimulation that's going on, what we see, what we touch, what we taste, what we hear, what we smell. All of those things are informing us and informing the ego. So understanding that we are in this experience and none of it's supposed to be bad and wrong. When it looks bad and wrong, it's simply the judgment of that. We need to reverse that experience of the judgment, or maybe not reverse it, but step away from the judgment and just observe. And when you observe, you begin to see things that you may not be comfortable with, but in the observer, you're going, oh my gosh, I did not realize I had all that thought process going on. I didn't realize I had all of that energy about this going on. we have so much in our subconscious that we do not know or understand because we don't see it every day. And we have no idea all the little bits and debris that we've picked up along the way that's just back there taking up space, but is used by the ego to support whatever the predominant energy that you're feeling is. So it's challenging because you have to be aware that the stuff that's coming in from the mind is not valid either. It's just information. And so you have to watch it and observe it and see how you are engaging with that energy, and then begin to be to find that place to be honest with the self. It doesn't require a mea culpa. It doesn't require a sacrifice. It's just change. That's why it makes me nuts when people feel victimized about being empowered to create their own life, because it's only about change in the end. Sometimes the change is challenging, sometimes it's hard, but that's the degree to which we resist it, not because the thing itself is a problem or an issue. It's how we engage it. I'm not sure if I got where you were asking, Moshe, but did it help?
Yeah, it's getting there. It's about, I was asking about parsing this so it's easier to make sense, and you're kind of explaining one perspective of it. I want to clarify one thing, Jim. Are you saying that the divide always starts with a internal reaction that has a judgment attached to it?
So the divide is a triggering thing. And the way I've been seeing it is that we don't necessarily approach each other in wholeness. We approach each other with the divide. Well, when my divide is forward and I approach you, so I'm coming to you and I say something to you from that divided place, that statement from that divided place is going to trigger your divided place, even if they're not on the same topic, because my division is coming at your division. It's not a whole space. It's not a space of openness and receptivity. It's a place of protection. And even, as I said before, it shocked me because I feel like I'm a very open person in that regard to myself and stuff. And, it's not, again, while it doesn't feel good sometimes, it's way more satisfying to me to be able to see these things that as an observer and look at them and deal with them that way. So when it comes through this way, the way it did, and I'm sorry, I have to stop because I'm just babbling.
Well, it speaks to the tangle that this divide is about.
Yes.
How about this? If we make it very real and contemporary, and go back to 1 week ago, last Wednesday, when, and I'll use words that are commonly used in the media, when these mobs rioted and stormed the Capitol, and the reactions that triggered, which included a lot of judgment. And I'm not stating, I have my opinions about it, but I'm not stating agreement or disagreement in this context of conversation on purpose. But it was an event that happened that triggered a whole lot of stuff. I'm guessing you would say a whole lot of divide triggering other divides.
Well, I would say that the event was triggered because, see, that's the thing that I think is so profound in this is, there's a lot of just how to approach this. The current president has been a perfect specimen, as it were, or a perfect example of leading with your divide. Everything is about divisiveness. Everything is about dividing and conquering, but so he leads with his divide. So virtually everything he does creates a trigger for a wide swath of people in any different direction on any given day. And it depends on what it is. It depends, and again, I'm not saying good, bad, right, or wrong. I'm saying that's what I observe is happening. And what I observe is that each of us are triggered in a very specific way, but then we're coming back to the fold triggered. We're coming back to the problem triggered by this divisiveness, rather than observing that behavior and not engaging the behavior, but observing the outcomes and then choosing to contribute a different energy, choosing to contribute in a different way. A lot of times what we do is we tune out. A lot of times what we do is stop watching the news, stop watching, and don't look at that stuff. Because if you look at that stuff, then you're going to get all kinds of bad information. Because now that's what the belief is that you can't trust news, you can't trust sources anywhere. Well, what is that telling you? Guess where the source is? Right here, right here. It's the only one. All of the indications are the same everywhere. They're saying the same thing. You can't pay attention to what's outside. Can't pay attention to the left. Can't pay attention to the right. Don't listen to him. He's just running his mouth. Don't pay attention. No. I mean, it just, if you listen to the language that's being used throughout the conversations, they're all the same. It's all that energy. So rather than bring your trigger to the game, I'm saying let's stop bringing our trigger to the game. Maybe you don't know how to approach that. You have to feel your way into it. You have to recognize that it exists, and the existence of it is not by fault per se. It's not. It just what is. I don't know where else to go. It's just what it is.
So what would be a whole reaction to what happened last Wednesday?
What would be a whole reaction?
A whole self as opposed to
okay, so a whole self is going to recognize that it stimulates a lot of feelings. The whole self is going to recognize that all of the language about, all of the pictures about, all of the sound about is all perspective, and it's all creating an impact. So I know for myself when I was watching, and I know those of you who have watched my show, have been on the show, you know that I don't have a big thing about paying attention to government, in the sense that my viewpoint has always been the guy that was in that office has never really affected the choices that I've made in my life. And while they have lots of things going on and that world is all spinning and doing its thing, ultimately it hasn't really largely impacted the choices that I've made in my world. So I've always kind of approached it that way. You know, I watch it, I observe it, I go, okay, that looks pretty silly, or wow, that's really interesting, or whatever. So this event was different because it affected me emotionally, which really shocked me. I remember in a couple different occasions through seeing different images, it literally caused me to well up. I became emotional about this, that I was seeing it, that it was happening here. I'm not even really sure what all the emotion was, because I don't know that I've ever been stimulated in a patriotic way before. I don't know if that's the right word. I don't know. I think it's more about the humanity of it for me. So the whole me sits with the experience. The whole me sits with the recognition that as I'm experiencing this stuff, I go to a thought storm and I encounter my own divide. And that, because I don't live in a vacuum, right? I'm processing and taking all of this stuff in, and I'm allowing it in my space. And that's going to inform everything I do. This is the whole basis of this show. Inner reality, outer reality, they're colliding in real time. I'm watching all of my reaction happening outside of me, or observing it as a part of me, and not engaging it as much as I can. Or if I engage it, sitting in the engagement so that I can see where this is sourcing from. Because I know how I feel about most of this. So that I'm having these reactions this close to me tells me there's more to the picture than what I'm immediately seeing. And even more so, it shows me that it's happening in me, because I'm the only one having that response in my world right now. What do I mean by that? I'm sitting by myself in my house on my couch having all of these responses. They're mine. They may be energies of other people that are matching or mirroring mine, but ultimately they're mine. So I have to decide how much of that is real and how much of that is manufactured from the outside and from the inside. And so I have to go deeper. I have to get into that deeply feeling place and sift and sort, because as I have that feeling, that sadness that kind of overwhelmed me as I was watching, I was in awe that I was feeling it. I was in amazement that there was a tear forming in my eye. And I'm like, what is going on right now? But I'm feeling it because I don't know what else to do. And I stayed in the feeling until it changed. And then I went, okay, wow. And there was sadness and there was confusion and there was, I want to say that there might even have been some good stuff in it, but I didn't get that far. I got to neutral mostly. So the wholeness is still about my world is good, because in my perspective, my world is good. And there are things happening that I need to attend to or need to be aware of. And how is my inner world reflecting in my outer world? Well, when I look in my outer world, I see lots of amazing things. I have lots of amazing experiences. And there is this thing going on as well, which is beginning to fall into the category of amazing experiences. Because amazing doesn't necessarily always mean positive, but it always means like, wow, it's amazing. But it's ultimately got to be positive, because that's the core that I operate from. Everything is always working out for me. Everything that we experience is about our forward evolution. So if we're here right now in this moment, this collided moment of inner world and outer world, bam, what an opportunity we have right this minute to understand who we are much more deeply and the power that we hold much more deeply. And
Yeah, I'm taking that in.
did that bring you to let me say hi. Good morning, Lauren. Sorry, I'm babbling. I didn't see you. Now I'm seeing you and I'm saying hi. Good morning. Lauren is one of our is another show host. He's the one who has done my the intro of my show and stuff. But he is a awesome guy. But he popped in to say hi.
Nice. Yeah, I'm taking this in, Jim, and I guess where I'm focused on is that point of collision of inner and outer worlds.
The point of collision?
Okay. Yeah, point of collision.
I chose the word collision in this aspect because, to my way of seeing things, I don't think we've ever been here before. I mean, that's true of every now moment, every now moment we've never been in before. But this circumstance, this experience, this unfolding, the thing that's remarkable to me is I had to laugh at one point, because I'm like, we hired a reality TV star who has been running a reality TV show for the past 4 years. This event was a reality TV, like, holy crap kind of moment. And I say that because part of what fuels the conspiracy theories is that it looks too perfect, or it looks too constructed, or it looks too, I don't think those require conspiracies. I think it was constructed. I mean, I think it was manipulated. So there's nothing to conspiratorialize about it. It's find out the facts, find out what happened, find out who was involved and how they were involved. But I don't want to get into all that. That's really not what we're about here. But
the question I have about collision, and
yes.
You said you chose that word on purpose, is my experience is sometimes, or more often than not, I'm not aware of a collision, because the truth can be obscured so easily by the drama of what's happening. So it's not like it takes a certain awareness to feel the collision. Otherwise, it's just mistaking that outer world for the inner world.
Well, and I think I may be thinking collision in a different way. I was seeing it as worlds. So
yes,
the collision of these viewpoints, I don't think has ever occurred in this fashion for us in this way. Now, maybe it's because because of my own process, I have come to a different perspective that allows me to look at it from a different perspective. But that's why I bring it here, because it feels so profoundly right to me. The veil is so thin right here, right now, that literally I can see my outer and inner worlds happening at the same moment because of the intensity of everything that is being put on in the outside world. So it becomes even more important to be conscious of where you're putting your focus and your perception and your energy. So is it that you will, let me see if I can clarify from this direction too. So is it that in witnessing this stuff, that you would get to the point of not having a negative reaction? Maybe. I find myself being more neutral to positive now. Not because people dying is positive or a neutral thing, or not because violence is that, but it is an aspect of the entire picture. So again, your perception will direct your focus. So, bless you, your perception will direct your focus. So if your perception is already one of lack, if your perception is one of victimhood, if your perception is one of powerlessness, then that is the perspective you will be viewing all of this through. So everything that anyone brings in the way of their divide that reflects that energy, you will be impacted. You will only see the situations that impact your divide, because that's what triggers you. As soon as you're triggered, that's the world. That's the whole problem with anxiety and PTSD and depression, is you get into trigger and you're stuck because you're stuck in the trigger. The trigger is your reaction to the divide that you are experiencing inside yourself. There is a dichotomy between a total dichotomy between the wholeness of you and the brokenness of you. And you've not resolved that yet. That's the divide. As a person who is now conscious in the world, who's lived on the planet for X number of years, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, as you have more experience in the world, you begin to see those things more clearly. You begin to see those things in ways that you would not have seen before. So you begin to experience a sense of wholeness in self. But if your divide is stronger, then every time you show up, you're showing up offering your divide, not offering your wholeness. And that's the perspective you view the world from. That's where the collision comes. You are colliding with your perception of yourself right here, right now, in real time. Typically, it doesn't happen that way. Typically, you get something happens, something flits by, something stupid happens, and you have a reaction and you go on about your day and you don't think about it until later, and then it hits you and then you're like, what happened and what's going on? This is very different to me that way. This is in your face, 24/7, nonstop. Pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. And all of the noise about what's true and what's not true is the ego. It is the reflection of the ego. All of this is showing you the noise that's going on in here. It's the same noise. I don't trust myself. I don't listen to myself. I can't listen to you. I don't want to listen to you. I don't like you. I don't like you. I love you. I want to support you. I don't support you. I don't like you. You did this. They did that. Who did this? We did that. That shit is going on nonstop in your head. Nonstop. If you're watching, if you engage in all of the news media, it's going to be even worse. If you disengage from it, it's still there, but you're not being as triggered because you're not seeing all of those divides in your face like that. But I still think it's impacting. It's consciousness, it's energy. How can we not be impacted? It is affecting all of us universally. There is no one in this country who is not affected. Can't be.
So if I'm whole, how am I responding to all this?
You're observing. You're looking to what can I offer to this experience that I am observing? What can I contribute energetically that's going to offer a better energy, a positive energy, a flow of energy that can help ameliorate what I'm experiencing? It isn't that some things are, I mean, again, this does not change that there are things that have to be dealt with in the physical reality, guys. And I want to make, and I don't think I've said that at all throughout this whole thing. Every situation, there's going to have to be adjustments in the physical reality because stuff was not put together correctly. Stuff is broken. Things aren't working. So those are things that we have to deal with. But if we're dealing with it from the divided space, we're not going to come up with a solution, because that's a reactive, resistant space that's all about something is wrong and something is right. In wholeness, there's finding balance. We're out of balance. I'm out of balance. What can I do to find my way back to balance? Back to wholeness, as it were. So it sounds, I'm trying to think where we can go here to approaching it from wholeness is recognizing that if you are observing and you have a reaction, it is yours, only yours, and yours to attend to. If you attend to them, they change your energy. That change in your energy changes your perspective. That change in perspective changes how you approach everything. So it's no different than when we talk about my book. If you change your relationship with fear, it changes everything. When you are in divide, you are in fear. There is no other place to be. You are reacting with fear. So when you change that relationship, it will change how you approach it. And then each individual perspective is going to be different because you all have different stuff. So you got to sift and sort through your own experience and find out where you land in this, where you are feeling the most full, the most whole. You know, I don't feel 100% whole. I know there's still parts of this that I'm still understanding, still contemplating, still unraveling, as we're doing here today. But what I don't need to do is engage in that. And that I can be conscious that as I move out into the world, that I not come forward with my divide, that I come forward with my wholeness as much as I can. And I still don't do it 100%. Sometimes my divide shows up. And I'll be having a conversation with a neighbor and something will come up and I'm right there. You know, not in a bombastic, horrible way, but I feel the change in my energy. I go from an open place to a restricted kind of energy. And I feel the edge come on my field. I feel the edge come in my words. And I have to stop and go, ooh, okay. It seems subtle, but to me it's profound because I went from a pretty open space to suddenly I'm rattled again. You know?
Right. So here's,
I go, whoop, step back.
I want to check out one thing.
Yes.
Understanding what you're saying is we as human beings have the capacity to stay in our inner world and not have our outer world collide with our inner world, so that we're not, that edge you talked about doesn't come into play. And we are still at peace, regardless of what's going on around us, no matter how horrific.
Yeah, but it takes focus. It takes work. It takes energy to stay in that space. But see, here's the thing, because it's inner reflecting outer. So it's you. It's all you. So what's to be afraid of? That's why we engage life, because in engaging life, we learn more about who we are. So we learn more about our connection to God. We learn more about our connection to everything. So that's why the burying the head in the sand may be okay for a brief period, but you got to get out and engage life. You've got to get out and in order to unfold your experience and why you're here. So it isn't to be afraid of experiences, because ultimately, when you clean this up, this will change. It doesn't mean you won't see things that aren't to your liking per se, but you're not affected by them in the same way. You're not reactive to them. You observe them and then you decide how to engage with it. It's a whole different place of being in wholeness.
Yeah.
Because you get to pick and choose how you engage, as opposed to being engaged by the divide piece.
Yeah. That's a powerful distinction right there.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you asked that question. And once again, here we are, already an hour flown by. Thank you all so much for being here. I hope that you were able to take some nuggets of this conversation. Like I said, I know it was going to be a lot, and it was a lot. There was a lot of information, a lot of things to contemplate and consider. And I ask you to do that. If you have questions, write them in the comments. I'm happy to answer them. If they're topical, I may even do a video about it just to give you more information and kind of get connected to it. So don't leave yourself in a place of confusion here. If you have questions or thoughts, put them in the comments. I'll look at the comments. I'll respond, because I don't want people lingering out there kind of confused and not knowing what the hell I'm talking about. So thank you, Moshe, for being here. Always, I appreciate you. Thank you guys for watching. www.adventuresintruth.com. You can learn about my book. You can learn about science of transformation. You can learn a little bit more about the movement, and of course about this show. I appreciate you all very much, and thank you for being here, and have an amazing day. And my world is good. Have a good day, guys. Thank you very much.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Adventures in Truth podcast. Thank you for joining us. We'd love to connect with you. Please like us on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube. To learn more about Jim's book, Fear is a Choice, Unraveling the Illusion of Our Separation from Love, or to book a session with Jim, you can email us at adventuresintruth@gmail.com, or you can join us on the web at www.adventuresintruth.com. Tune in next time for another great Adventures in Truth podcast.